side-by-side ATV, or UTV, ATV, whatever you want to call them. We're going to go down pros and cons of each and what we found to work best for us. So I want to preface this whole video with, I've had quads most of my life. Well, I shouldn't say that. I've had ATVs most of my life, whether it be three-wheelers and or four-wheelers. All right, love the ATV, love the quad, it's great. But a couple things that we found: we purchased a side-by-side / UTV in 2016. This is a Honda Pioneer. It's a 700 4, and I got to tell you, we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison. So, a couple highlights that I like to talk about. The first and foremost is safety. Okay, the safety is concerned with the ATV, the quad. You have a helmet. As far as the side-by-side, you have a roll cage, you have doors, you have netting, and you have a seat belt. There's seat belts available in 4 positions, 4 seats on the side-by-side, front and back. Right now we have this side-by-side in the dump box position, but it can convert into 4-person side-by-side. Also, in the side-by-side, you have back support and a headrest. So from a safety standpoint, I really like the side-by-side. The other piece, because your legs are protected, you're protected. The windshield adds protection. Second important to me is comfort. As far as comfort goes, the ATV affords you, good positioning, a nice squishy seat, and handlebars to rest your hands on. And the side-by-side affords you pretty much, some of the same outside of the handlebars. It has a steering wheel. Okay, the other thing with comfort is the seating arrangement, which to me is a game changer. With the ATV, you are, they hold 2 people, and you have 1 person in the front and 1 person behind them. Also, when you're positioned in that fashion, it's kind of difficult to communicate, because if I'm the person in front, I can hear the person communicating to me, but they're less apt to hear me communicating because I'm speaking out this way, they're behind me. I'm gonna have a natural tendency to try to turn this way and talk to them, which may create a safety hazard, all that good stuff. Now, with the side-by-side, hence the terminology side-by-side, that is the seating arrangement, your side-by-side. So you can easily sit there, just turn to the person and talk. They could turn to you and talk. And it's a good environment to have communication while you're riding through or driving through the woods. The other creature comfort I like with the side-by-side is the steering wheel. You have a steering wheel, which I guess from a safety standpoint, you probably shouldn't operate with 1 hand, but I do it all the time. And, it affords you to do other things with your other hand. If you need to grab something or operate the winch or what have you. Also, you can have a frosty beverage of your liking while you're driving through the woods in your side-by-side, conversing with the person next to you. So from a comfort standpoint, I think, the side-by-side has it hands down an advantage over the ATV. Also, with the side-by-side, depending upon what model you get, you have the capacity to carry 4 people comfortably. So I guess from a comfort standpoint, that's an advantage as well. Okay, the third thing that I would probably list is capacity. Capacity on a couple different levels, okay? With the ATV, your capacity to travel is 2. With the UTV or side-by-side, you can safely ride 4 people with the UTV. The other thing is carrying capacity. So with the ATV, you have these racks. I believe this front rack, I can carry up to a little over 100 pounds on the front rack, and then the rear rack has a capacity of, wow, 187 pounds. So, you know, you have some carrying capacity there. And you also, there's a area here where you can, for storage. Normally what I have in here are my documents. I have my insurance card, registration, all that good stuff. And then you have a toolkit that could be found underneath the seat. As far as carrying capacity with the side-by-side, if you're not carrying 4 passengers, you're carrying 2, or carrying 1 passenger plus yourself, you have this whole back dump box to carry things in. You also have a glove box. You have dashboard area where you can store things. You also have side pockets in the doors, and you can put racks on the side-by-side for additional storage capacity. As far as other capacities, and this, hands down, is where the side-by-side has it all over on the quad, is towing capacity. I mean, in the horsepower, like the power capacity, I guess. This quad right here is a Grizzly 700. At the time of purchase, like, this was, you know, it was a big engine quad, I guess, so to speak. And I got that for a couple reasons. One, because, I don't know, you just want the biggest and best, I guess. But 2 is, I've used my quad for plowing. I've used it for hauling logs out of the woods. I regularly had a trailer on the back of it. But this is a great tool if, you know, this is what you have. But this is far superior. You know, a couple things. If I want to grab, you know, chainsaw, couple, you know, my bar oil and a tank of gas, yeah, I can throw it on the quad, you know, and I can strap it down in and all that good stuff. But with this, I can just throw it in the back. As far as towing capacity, hands down, this thing is all over the ATV. I can tow 3 to 4 times more with this machine than I can with this machine, in a safer manner. Okay, and then, you know, just a couple other features that, you know, I really like about this, the side-by-side, is you're kind of a little bit more out of the elements, so to speak, with the roof and the windshield. They come separate. These things come, you know, everything's an option. I found that out with the side-by-side. Everything's an option. But I do like those 2 features of the side-by-side as well. Now, the ATV, couple advantages that has over the UTV. It's smaller, right? So that size gives you a couple advantages. One, it's more nimble in the woods, right? Maneuverability, hands down, way better than the side-by-side. Yes, I had to make some improvements in our trail system here at the homestead, due to the fact that this is wider and it is longer. So in certain areas, certain turnaround areas and what have you, we had to open them up. Another thing is that this vehicle, the UTV, is a lot taller than the ATV. So we had to do some more limbing on our trails, because I like having the canopy over our trails. It's kind of a cool feeling when we're going through there. So I kind of, you know, keep as many limbs as we can intact, but certainly had to go through and do some trail improvement once we got the side-by-side. So that is clearly an advantage with the quad. Also, if you want to go off trail, way more easier with the quad, the ATV, than it is the side-by-side. You know, again, because of the size of it. So another advantage is storage. This being smaller than the side-by-side, you don't need as much space storing it. And along with storage, transporting it. This thing I could throw in the back of my pickup truck without a problem. That is not happening with the side-by-side. Every year, you know, we go up to dear friends of ours camp up north, and since we have gotten the side-by-side, it has added, we need to become more creative when loading all our stuff on the trailer, because it takes up so much more space. And you know, there's a couple of side-by-sides. There's like 3 or 4 of us that go up there each year. So you know, this is definitely needs to be trailered, definitely takes up a ton of room, whereas we could bring like, you know, 2 or 3 quads no problem. Well, this thing takes up the space of 2 or 3 quads. So that is a definite advantage over, or with the ATV over to the side-by-side. And of course, the big one is the cost. The side-by-side costs significantly more than the ATV for sure. The ATV in the day, I believe this is a '09. I think I paid $7,800 for this, and this was $11,200. So and this is a less expensive side-by-side out there. You can spend you could spend 26 grand on these things. I love this thing, and didn't, you know, $11,000 is a lot of money, a whole lot of money, but this thing does, for me, clearly is well worth the added expense as far as the value I get out of this compared to the ATV. And that is, for me, an R Homestead. Hands down, I will take this thing over this any day of the week. Now, if you spoke to 25-year-old Nick, that might be a different conversation. I'd probably take this, because I think that's the difference. This is more of an entertainment, fun, like you're riding this, and this is more utility driven, and you're like driving it, right? I think that's the difference. But this one, let me sit down, let me, you know, steer with one hand, have a frosty beverage in the other, and, you know, just casually ride down the trails. Not the rip roaring, getting crazy, and all that good stuff on the ATV. The other thing that I found with the UTV and having it, we've had it since 2016. I have two children, 2 daughters. One is 18 and one is 13. And they operate this. They have been operating it. Shay's been operating it since 2016. Grace, probably the last maybe 2 or 3 years, since she's like 11. You know, we're pretty, we allow them to operate equipment, like, you know, lawn tractors. You know, I had a B2100 Kubota tractor. We let them operate these. And I think that the UTV also gives, you know, I've seen it with Shay, gave her some great skills before she entered the driving arena for the real deal at 16 behind the wheel of a car. It kind of gave the, you know, it's giving my kids the concepts before they actually need them of driving, whether it be, you know, braking, you know, sharp steering, you know, how reactionary, you know, how things operate, I guess, under similar conditions with the side-by-side. So I think that's an advantage too. If you have kids, it kind of relieves some of that initial pressure and anxiety when it comes to actually having them drive vehicles.